In this video, we're going to take a look at the system settings on the handheld. So we'll select the system settings menu option. Here we can see there's some read-only device settings. The read-only device settings are downloaded when we install the software. They're specific to the organization, the device, so in this case, organization Tomahawk University, the device unique identifier, the device name, country of origin, the ticket footer, so this would be a standard footer that would be printed on all printable or all printed tickets rather. The next defense number uniquely identifies the handheld as well as the incrementing ticket numbers. So you can see here handheld number 40 and ticket number 1002 would be the next defense. As we scroll down, we can see we have some printer settings. The printer settings allow us to change things obviously specific to the printer, as well as some of the finer details about number of lines and that sort of idea. Right now, the handheld software supports Star Micronics and Zebra printers, and we can select which Bluetooth printer we want to have connected. Then the next part, excuse me, is characters per line, so how many lines across the page can be printed, and then how many lines before a ticket. So in some cases, tickets will automatically advance to like an earmark on the ticket that allows it to know that that's where the ticket starts. But that's not always on all tickets. So as a result, sometimes we have to say, okay, at the top of the ticket, we want you to go down 4 lines so that we don't print over top of, say, a logo or something along those lines. The lines per ticket then is the next part of that, which is actually a calculation then of how many tickets can be printed. So as it's printing, it's tracking how many tickets can be printed. And if we have too much information on one ticket, obviously it advances to the next ticket. In this case as well, we can see things like including the client name, including the dotted header line, including a warning value, including a discount line, which basically says if this is paid within a certain time frame, there would be a discount. We'll include a $0 towing charge if the towing charge is $0. Obviously, if there is a charge for towing, then that would be included. And then also to include a barcode. So basically the barcode is the ticket number. So somebody at the front desk would be able to scan that barcode and have it automatically brought up on the OPSCOM system. We can take a quick look at the ticket. We've done that in another video, but here we can see this is a printed ticket. So, you know, some of the things we had just mentioned were the client name at the top, the dotted lines, some of the other features as we go down the ticket. You can see that the fine amount is in a larger text. So again, the system is keeping track of the number of lines that are being printed, and then based on that, we try to get everything onto one ticket, but if necessary, it will go over to a second ticket. So as we continue on, so we'll go to the next setting here, which is plate reader settings. And actually, the plate reader is the mobile camera system. So basically with the mobile camera system, we have a computer that's in the car, and that computer is connected to by the cameras. So in this case, the handheld would actually connect to that computer. So we have the computer's IP address, which when we send it out, the default is the 81 address, and the port number is 32,000 as listed here. So generally, being able to connect to the plate reader would mean that you wouldn't change any of these settings, but it is possible or necessary sometimes to change these settings in a troubleshooting scenario. The next part down here is, again, we're talking about the mobile plate reader. So this is including no read. So no read would be vanity plates. So basically, plates generally follow a format of characters and letters depending on province or territory. And in this case, if a vanity plate wouldn't follow that pattern, so it gets returned to the system as a no read result, but the data is actually returned. So in the case of, student, as an example, somebody has a plate student, then that plate wouldn't follow any kind of pattern, but the system would receive that text and then it would be tagged as a no read result. So what we can do is we can say, based on confidence level, we do want those no reads. Another example would be, a bad example would be, a red offense where it's like a whole bunch of ones, and obviously we wouldn't want that result, but its confidence level would be very low. So here we're able to tweak that. So moving on to auto chalk. Auto chalk is basically as we're driving around, as it sees plates that don't have permits, it's automatically chalking them. So this is a key feature of the plate reader system. Obviously, we're driving around. We don't want to be manually chalking things. We want the system to automatically chalk plates as it sees them. The next part here, trigger on an inactive vehicle, would be the case of a vehicle that's in the system that's marked as inactive. So a user is saying, I'm not using this vehicle, and they have another vehicle that's active that's tied to a permit. Well, if they've marked that vehicle as inactive, the system can be set up to trigger if it reads that plate that has that permit associated, but the plate is actually marked as inactive. Time until chalked. Basically, this is a grace period. So as an example, somebody parks their car and they go off to make payment at a payment terminal. Well, this case would be that you come by, or somebody comes by and they scan that plate. We want to give them a certain amount of time. So if we come back, say 20 or 30 minutes later, and they still haven't paid for parking, well, and this will be an alarm state. So they have that 20 minutes grace period to be able to do whatever they need to do to pay for parking. The chalk units is just simply whether or not we're displaying in feet or meters, and that has to do with GPS location. So when we're listing the information, we can say it's X number of feet or X number of meters. On the advanced settings options, we have auto synchronization. So that's when we're writing violations or adding vehicles or adding people. When we synchronize, the system will automatically synchronize every 15 minutes. In this case, by default, would be 5 minutes. And it's important to keep data in sync because, obviously, especially in the case of people paying for temp permits and that sort of idea, we want to make sure that we have the most current data possible, but it's not possible always to be real time. And so what happens is we maintain this information on the handheld in a cache state, but regularly we're wanting to scan and check. Now, also when we write a violation, what happens is it does do a real-time check just to make sure that somebody hasn't paid for a permit in that time, whatever that grace period is. Permit sharing and misuse timer. So basically in this case would be, again, the idea being that a user might have 2 vehicles on their profile but only have 1 parking permit. The system will actually track when it scans vehicles. So if it sees that second vehicle, it'll actually alert the patrol to let them know that there's a possible misuse of permit. And that again is that it maybe husband and wife who happen to be on location and they only have 1 parking permit. So this actually allows you to track down the fact that both vehicles are on location and they only have 1 parking permit. So showing a hyphen in the ticket, basically we saw at the beginning was 40-001002. We remove that hyphen so it becomes one big long number. Some systems, especially when we're say pushing or exporting ticket information, may not want to have the hyphens in there. They may just want that to be a number, and this gives them the ability to remove those hyphens. Temp permit barcodes. There is a temporary permit menu option that's generally not enabled because it requires the patrol to scan tickets in the windshield. So basically, if you were to print one of these temporary permits and put it on your dash, a patrol could come by and scan that barcode. So it's not used by a lot of clients, but it is something that can be added to the menu to allow you to scan those barcodes and validate those temporary parking. We're leaning more towards a paperless setup, and with a paperless setup, obviously we're just reading the plates and then validating the information based on that. So that's pretty much all of the system settings. We do cover some of the options in finer detail in some of the other videos, but that pretty much covers it for system settings on the handheld. Thanks for watching.